Yo, what's up, y'all? Shout out to Nephew on that beat, man. That beat is crazy. But anyways, I'm Paco, your host. You're listening to Occupy the Media. I want to thank you if you're tuning in. I want to shout out to those on the chat that have been chatting with me, posting up their comments. Definitely appreciate it. Don't forget that we are in the chat. We do have the chat session every time we're on the radio at ronpaulradio.com. At the top right, you can click. Also, you can check me out on YouTube, Paco757, Facebook, 2 words, Paco Elijah, and on Twitter, Occupy the MSM. So get in contact with me, holler at me. If you guys know about any fraud going on, any of the delegates, we definitely want to get them on the show. You know, this show is basically for the Ron Paul activists. That's what we do. Okay, so before we run out of time at this hour, don't forget I'll be on next hour as well. We got this headline. Ron Paul and Ben Bernanke have breakfast together. Okay, so let's see here. One day after chairing a hearing on proposals to abolish or overhaul the central bank, the Texas congressman sat down for the first meal of the day Wednesday with Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke. The lawmaker confirmed in a brief interview at the Capitol the decision to meet for breakfast at the Fed was mutual, said Mr. Paul, who last year introduced a bill to eliminate the central bank. The Fed chief and lawmaker has sort of an open discussion, Mr. Paul said, while declining to provide any details of the conversation. Quote, "It was off record," he said. The Fed declined to comment on the meeting. Wednesday's visit to the Fed's Washington headquarters was not the first for Mr. Paul, who had said previously he dined at the central bank with former Fed Chairman Paul Volcker. Nor is it unusual for Mr. Bernanke to play host to lawmakers, including those proposing to refashion the Fed. The Fed chief had breakfast in February with Kevin Brady, who earlier this year introduced a bill that would narrow the Fed's mandate to focus solely on price stability. What else we have going on? Still, Wednesday's breakfast brought together two figures who publicly agree on very little. A longtime critic of paper currency and fan of the gold standard, Mr. Paul's fiery Fed bashing has enthused his campaign trail supporters, who often start rallies with loud chants of "End the Fed." Mr. Bernanke, meanwhile, dedicated a significant chunk of his first lecture at George Washington University in March against the flaws associated with a system in which the dollar is valued at a fixed price per unit of gold. So did Wednesday's meeting overturn any deep-set beliefs? Quote, "He's for the gold standard now," unquote, joked Mr. Paul. So Ron Paul joking around. Yeah, he'll never be for the gold standard unless it's for, you know, the government and him personally. They buy gold. They just don't want us buying it. That's all. Well, what's wrong? We just don't want you guys to have any. We just don't want you to spend it. What's so bad? What's so wrong about that? All right, so what else we got going on? If you guys didn't catch this, there's a bill. There's an outstanding convention bill that needs to be paid for from the state of Maine. Basically, it turns out that Maine GOP didn't run up a huge tab from the Augusta Civic Center for keeping the lights on after the convention ran late. GOP Chairman Charlie Webster warned Ron Paul activists who took over the weekend convention that the Civic Center agreement called for wrapping up by 6 p.m. Sunday. Instead, the convention continued at least 2 hours beyond that before breaking up. Civic Center Director Dana Colwell said Wednesday that the bill would be $300 or less for overtime for workers who stayed at the inn. The convention was a messy affair with repeated delays as Paul supporters and Mitt Romney supporters argued over rules of order. Some party members passed the hat to collect donations to pay the Civic Center. You ain't getting no donation from me. If I was there, forget that, man. It's the Mitt Romney supporters that was holding it up. We interviewed Ginger about it. We saw it on video. Those of us that was watching it live stream. Ron Paul supporters are not trying to cut up. We want to go home, too. We got families, too. We got plane tickets, too. We don't feel like being there either. I don't feel like doing none of this. I have to do all this. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like being out on the streets talking about Ron Paul, screaming about NDAA, screaming about bringing our troops home, talking to people about this. I want to be out partying and having fun and watching the basketball game just like everybody else. But you know what? If the things in this country is going to continue to go on, then I don't want to have any part of those other things. It's my duty and it's your duty to step up as delegates, as people. Even if you're not a citizen in this country, you need to step up and speak out for Ron Paul. And that's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? You think it's just amazing. They act like we want to be doing all this. We shouldn't have to do all this. Ron Paul supporters should not have to work this hard or have this much energy and go through this long of a process. We should just be able to vote. Whoever gets the most votes wins. But what's wrong with that? They tamper with the votes. Who in the world believes that Rick Santorum beat Ron Paul the last, well, what state was it? West Virginia? How in the world do we lose to somebody who's not running anymore and just endorsed Mitt Romney? And Newt Gingrich got some votes? This is a joke. They're taking all Ron Paul's votes and they're splitting them up. The fact that we're going to sit here and believe that. That's why we got to show up. That's why we got to cause. It's not that we're causing a problem. That's why we got to show up in mad numbers and cause you guys to cause a problem. And that's what's happening. They don't like that. There's actually a clip to this. So I forgot. I didn't realize it. So I might play the clip later on. Next hour or next show. Later on today. Also at RonPaul2012.com, Youth for Ron Paul member total exceeds 110,000 lifelong small government activists, supporters in 627 nationwide chapters commit to lasting political reform as they carry responsibility to govern their lives and bring about real change. So you guys can check this out at Ron Paul 2012. It's awesome. We got members in all 50 states, it says here. You know, more volunteers. It's great. And this is why Ron Paul is getting out to these universities, because these young people are screaming out for him to come, you know. They want him to show up. They want him to be there, give him the momentum. And, you know, Ron Paul draws so many people together. It gives us a chance to register more people for Ron Paul. Okay, so what else we got going on in the news? Oh, if you guys didn't catch this is somebody posted this on Daily Paul. It's pretty cool. So this guy's on lunch break, right? Let's see, I was stopped at a red light with my big Ron Paul magnet on the driver's side door of my car. I felt some eyes staring at me from the left. I looked over to see two cops in a cop car giving me the thumbs up. That's right. I got nothing but love for the cops like that. You know, unfortunately, there are very few, and the rest of their peers make them look bad. But I know there's some good cops out there, and we appreciate it. And if you know any cop that's out there that's good, or you are one yourself, you know, hat off to you, because it's got to be hard, man, especially with the things your peers are doing and getting away with. What else we got going on here? Don't forget, I am on next hour. I'm on every day, Monday through Friday, 10 to noon Eastern Time and 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on RonPaulRadio.com. What else do we have going on here? I got some more headlines that we're going to save for next hour. But I want to jump into something. Okay, let's see here. Destroyed videos showed U.S. torture victim vomiting and screaming. So I just want to get into this one real quick before we run out of time. New information on the torture of detainees in custody at CIA black sites has come to light, revealing that the videotaped torture of Abu Zubaydah, tapes destroyed in 2005, showed him vomiting and screaming after being stripped naked and waterboarded. CIA legal counsel John Rizzo termed the videos very disturbing, but insisted that all of the torture was legal at the time and that videos were extraordinarily hard to watch. Jose Rodriguez, the author of a new book defending the torture of suspects as a proud moment in American history, insisted that he was perfectly within his rights to order all of the videos of the torture to be destroyed. He insisted that the destruction was vital because the heat from destroying the tapes is nothing compared to what it would be if the tapes got into public domain. Yeah, I know you guys are mad at me because I destroyed the tapes, but what? And what? You ain't gonna do nothing. It's over. It's done with. The tapes are gone. Let me be. I'm gonna write my book and you're gonna buy my book. And the government ain't gonna do nothing about it. Nobody's gonna do nothing about it. We just torturing people. We just screaming, vomiting. Who knows for how long that was going on, how many hours, how many times. And who knows if these people are real terrorists, if they have any evidence on them at all whatsoever. But people don't care. Americans don't care. As long as I'm watching the basketball game, you know what I'm saying? That's all that matters until they're the ones getting waterboarded for nothing, for no reason. You know, when that starts happening to you start happening to family members of yours, you start seeing what's going on, the guns come out, NDAA comes to surface, comes clear as day to you, then you'll realize that, whoa, our government was taking rights and freedoms for a bunch of people before they did it to us, and we should have stopped it from happening to those people so we could have stopped it from happening to us. Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So if somebody's being waterboarded, you better speak out because you could be next in line. You know what I'm saying? That's how I think. What would I want if I was the one that happened to me? Anyways, I'm Pac with your host. We'll be back in the next